Welcome back to Big Herb the Nerd, and today we have something a little different. We are looking forward to FM18 and looking at some of the best teams to manage based on some different categories. Today we'll be looking at those fallen clubs, those big teams, those teams that spent at least 10 seasons in the Premier League that are now fallen down, some of them quite far. So we've got 5 teams for you today to look at and just give you some ideas about who to manage in 2018. These will be a lovely challenge, taking them from where they are now up to the dizzy heights of the Premier League again. But let's not hang around. Let's get into the list. So at number 5, we have Aston Villa, as you know, just recently relegated down to the Champions League. But can we get them up and actually competing in the Premier League will be a challenge. This will be a slightly easier challenge, as like I say, they're only in the Premier League, in the Championship, sorry, only recently being relegated. But let's have a look at the team. So looking at the team, they've had some signings come over the summer. They've got John Terry, who's been signed on a permanent deal. You'll get a good one season out of him. Also, Joshua Noma on loan from Tottenham. He was a very decent, good prospect, hot prospect for central midfield. He will have a good season for you first time. You obviously got Gabby Agbonlahor getting on a bit now, isn't he? 30 years old. Stats wise isn't the best. You'll need to look to move him on and really build that team before. You've got Micah Richards as well. Not kind of unfairly been left out. Does a decent job at centre back, I always think. He's 29 as well. But you've got a team here that with Jack Grealish, if you can manage to keep hold of Jack Grealish, get the most out of him, you'll have a decent side. You need to build it around new players, but it's quite good. A team with a lot of history that need to be back in the Premier League and give you a chance to kind of strip the team and have a good go in the Championship before heading straight back up to the Premier Division. And if we look at their history, they are English Premier Division winners in the past, English FA Cup winners and Championship winners, League One, blah, blah, EFL Cup as well. So they've got some trophies in the cabinet as well, but you can look to add to those and look at them. Like I say, early 90s were riding high in the Premier League, and then it's not gone so well, has it? There was a giant fall around 2011, 2012, and they've never quite recovered, ending in that relegation. So maybe you fancy Aston Villa as your team for FM18, but if not, there is someone else, and that is in number 4. We have Blackburn Rovers. Giddy old Blackburn Rovers, just relegated from the Championship into League One as of last season, but they were a mainstay in the Premier League for a long time. Dropped out in the late 1900s, about to say then, the 98-99 season, and made their way back in, and they were a mainstay for a good 10 seasons before being relegated in 2011-2012, and we have yet to see them return. Just, they were a good old club. If you are a bit older, you will remember Blackburn, you remember the Alan Shearer days, a team that would be great to take back into the Premier League and have some success with them. You've got some hot prospects in there. Joe Rankin Costello, not a bad player in this season's game. Plays everywhere. Has the ability to grow into a fairly decent player if you build your team around him, I suppose. So the team, there's no real names sticking out as big names, but as you'd expect, they've just been relegated to League One. So you're not expecting to see any mainstays, apart from obviously the mighty Danny Graham. 31-year-old, he may give you a couple of goals in a one season to help you get back to the Championship. Peter Whittingham used to be decent on one of the games as well. 32 now, good backup. So you'll be looking to build a squad, start a scratch. You're going to have to get yourself back into the Championship first before you try and attempt to make it to the Premier League. But Blackburn Rovers would be a nice challenge, a two-league jump, League One to Championship to Premier League, but a decent challenge and a club with a lot of history. If we have a look at that history, 3-time Premier Division winners, FA Cup winners, EFL Cup as winners as well. You can get in there. Maybe time to hit Europe for Blackburn Rovers, but definitely a club worth looking at if you're looking for that challenge, that fallen hero challenge in FM18. But if Blackburn or Aston Villa are not the ones for you, we have someone else. In at number 3, we have Leeds United. The mighty Leeds United. They've had a tough time as well. Again, mid-90s, early 2000s win the Premier League. We're a big club, the Ken Bates era. And then the triumphant fall where they went into the Championship, then down into League One. And now they've been stuck around the Championship, really trying to push to get into those top tiers of the Championship and get themselves promoted. A good challenge. You'll have to come in, you'll have to get some decent players, to get some youth prospects on the go and push for that promotion. They should be going for automatic, not just the playoffs. But we'll have a look at the club and see who is around. So your hot prospect is Ronaldo Vieira. Decent little player, 18-year-old Portuguese player, deep line playmaker, fairly decent stats, especially in that holding role. Let's get into the main team. And again, no one really here sticking out as an out-and-out wonder player. Your key players here. Ronaldo Vieira making it into the team, which is good to see. Good facilities at Leeds, so you hope you have to use that to build on, get in some players, make that jump from the Championship, and really push for our Prem position. Probably some loanees, get some young loanees from the Premier League down. But yeah, you always like to build your own team, don't you? Looking at their history, 3-time Premier League winners, 2-time Euro Cup winners, an English FA Cup and an EFL Cup. So can you get them back into the Prem? Can you get them back into Europe? Get them maybe to the dizzy heights that they never quite managed themselves. But if Leeds United are not your bag, we have another team for you. In number 2, we have Fulham. Oh, Fulham. What a triumphant rise. And they came down, look at this, early or mid-90s, League 2, rose up in fairly, look at that, 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons took them to get to the Prem. And then they were a mainstay in the Prem for a good 10 years, dropping out season 2013, 2014. And they've just never quite got it back, have they? They sold players, they got into a mindset of selling. The club wasn't necessarily managed the best as well. But they were a decent club, weren't they? It was always nice to see them. They were kind of everyone's second team, I always thought. So, it's a nice challenge. Take Fulham, take them back to the Premier League, get them back to where they were. Really honour that rise that they had, rather this kind of mid-tier Championship team they've got going on, actually pushing on the bottom for nearly relegation. So, you're not going to have an easy season. Looking at the team, you got Tom Cairney as captain and Ryan Sessegnon as your hot prospect. If you can keep hold of him at left back, he will do you a decent job. And also, you could probably punt him on for a bit of money if that's going to help. Tom Cairney as well, decent player across the whole of midfield. Really good stats actually. In his prime at 26. So yeah, build your team around your captain there. But you've got a chance. You've got some fairly decent players I think still in here. A lot of loan signings which aren't great. But if you can get in some younger players, try to hold on to them and not sell them on, you may be able to turn this Fulham team around and getting back up to the Premier League. No big titles to their names. Obviously, that rise was their most prolific period. They've not won a Premier League title. Let's get them into the Premier League. Let's get them a title. Get them into Europe. It'd be a nice challenge to take them from Championship to Premier League and then to the dizzy heights of the Premier League title and European football. But if you've decided Fulham, it's not enough of a challenge. I've got one more for you of these fallen angels, and that is Bolton Wanderers. Oh, Bolton Wanderers. Oh, the mighty have fallen, eh? They're back in their Championship after a long time falling and spiraling out of control. It would be a great chance to see them back in the Premier League again. Another side that were mainstays. Remember the Sam Allardyce era with the JJ Okochas. Get them back to that sort of level. Playing the Sam Allardyce sexy football. It wasn't sexy. But let's have a look at the team. So you've got Darren Bradley as your captain. Hot prospect Jake Turner. Jake Turner, decent goalie actually. If you can keep hold of him and get him into the first team. But yeah, looking at this Bolton Wanderers team, they've got some West Ham signings in there. Josh Cullen, decent prospect. And they'll also have Reece Burke. Reece Burke, there he is. As centre-back as well. So if you can hold on to those, use them for the first season and then try and replace with some of your own players. Or maybe even bring them in from West Ham. They're decent little prospects. I know them well from my West Ham series. So yeah, if you can keep them at the club, that'd be good. And, you know, the team's not bad. Looking at the history, FA Cup winners. Oh, and that's really it. No, they've not had that prolific a trophy cupboard. So there's your chance there to get them up into the Premier League. Get them that win in the Premier League. And take them on to European football and see where you can go from there. So that wraps up the teams for the Fallen Angels, I've called them. Teams that have spent 10 years in the Premier League, that are sitting around the Championship and maybe League One, that you can take for an easy first challenge in FM18, a win in the Championship, and then into that grind of being that promoted club in the Premier League. Can you turn them back into the Phoenix? Well, make them rise as the Phoenixes they should be, rather than languishing in the Championship. I hope you have enjoyed the video, and it's given you some ideas about FM18. There'll be a couple more of these videos coming out with some different levels of challenges, different types of clubs. So keep an eye on the channel. Please do subscribe to keep up with the content. Otherwise, I'll see you next time for another video. Thank you very much. Bye bye.